All right. Good morning, everyone. I'm John Yang. I'm the chair for the Minnesota Hmong Chamber of Commerce. And I want to thank you all for attending this event. I want to thank Chai and his team for coming out to teach this event, this workshop. It means a lot. I know that, Chai, you're really busy. At first, we were planning to do something bigger because we had a state grant. But the proposal that we sent to the state was not approved. So then, we went to Plan B and was like, hey, let's do something smaller. I was trying to work with Chai to come up with something to work at for the business expos coming up in May 14th, but that didn't work his schedule. So he reached out to me. This was a last minute thing. And we're like, hey, let's just do something small. I know that there's a lot of people that reached out. They weren't able to attend and we were at full capacity. But then we do have Jervang tomorrow morning who's going to be recording this session and we'll share it out to a social network. And a little bit about the Hmong Chamber of Commerce. A lot of people might not know what the Chamber of Commerce does, but we're a nonprofit organization. We focus on business matters, helping businesses grow and sustain economic development and prosperity. So we need your support. That's why on the sign-up sheet, I asked to see if you guys would put yes to be a member. To be a member, it helps leverage and give us a voice when we come lobby for state grants or for opportunities like this so that we can bring this type of workshop to you all. So I hope that you all can support us going forward. If you haven't put in yes, I hope that you can. It's really just to support the Hmong Chamber because we represent the Hmong business community here, and not just the Hmong community, but the AAPI community. Real quick, I wanted to just let you guys know that we do have one of the biggest events that the Hmong Chamber of Commerce is doing is the first annual AAPI Business Expo is coming up on May 14th. We're going to be hosting it at Metro State University, so it's a business expo, job fair. We're going to have keynote speakers and everything there, so I just want to just let you all know. But today, it's about Chai, right? So, he's here to help teach the workshop, So I'm going to make it quick, and I want to just kind of thank Chai again. Thank you all for coming here today. I want to introduce Chai to come up here and start his workshop. So let's give him a round of applause. Thanks, John.
I don't even need to put this on, right, John? You just leave right here. Probably walk.
Morning, St. Paul.
Morning.
So, what do you guys what does everybody want to learn today, or just want questions, right? So I usually start out by saying, what questions do you have first? Test. So this is going to be interactive. So you guys ask questions while we teach, right? Because we're going to be moving along really fast. This is 4 hours. So I brought my team. Hey, Two, can you stand up? Two's an investor. He has to leave later. What time do you have to leave, Two?
12?
12?
Yeah.
Okay.
12, 1. I can stay.
Okay, all right. So he's an investor. All my team members is an investor. They have invested already, and they're specialists in their particular field. So Two is an investor. How many units do you have, Two?
We have 24 that we hold long term. Then we have 3 that we're gonna be selling.
Yeah. So lots of knowledge there. We got David and he's a broker. Out of home sellers.
Home sellers, yeah.
Yeah. So you guys can ask questions about what to ask on an agent. So David invests too, right, David?
Yep.
So he's also an investor. So he's got knowledge on how to invest. How much stuff do you have done?
So we do everything. We do buy and hold investing. We do creative financing deals. We do a whole gambit of stuff. So right now we're in the process of doing some BRRRR investment deals. So that's where you fix it up, rent it, refinance it. So any kind of aspect. Well, the only thing that we really don't do is like short-term rentals. So that's where Chai is the man. But yeah, if you have any questions like that, we're also here to help on the retail side of purchasing properties as well. So.
Okay, so we got David, an expert. He's a broker, right? So then we got Linda. She's a short-term expert. So she's our mortgage specialist, right? She's the gal that all the lender goes and talk to, right, for advice and stuff like that. So you guys have all the specialists in the room. So
ask questions, okay, guys? So, any questions? What do you guys want to learn today? Okay? Short-term rental. What else you guys got?
Ideas.
Ideas. What else, guys?
How are you funding?
Funding. What else? What's that? Okay, analyze deal. Okay, what else? Name out. Location. What else?
I got one. Individual or LLC?
Okay, we'll go here. You guys can see. LLC stuff. What else?
You know tax strategies?
Tax strategies. Okay, what else?
Housing policy.
Policies. Okay, what else?
In terms of investment, how much do you invest to your portfolio in real estate?
Alright. Just name them out. What else?
Your syndication deals.
Okay, what else?
Nobody wants to learn Burr.
Bird. Okay, what else?
Partnership.
Okay, what else? Come on, guys, come on. I'm sure you guys have tons of questions. Don't be shy.
Commercial, like 5 times or more.
Okay, what else?
How do you scale up fast?
Okay.
How did you flips?
Okay.
What's the Hmong?
We're still there, yeah. Let's go, guys, come on. There's tons of stuff in real estate. What's that? Tax loan. Okay. How to be a lender?
1031 exchange.
Lend, L-E-A-N-D-E-R. How to, what was that? 1031 exchange. We're gonna cross these off when we start talking about it, so that's why, you know,
Why invest in real estate?
why.
Interest rate.
Interest rate. Property manager. What else?
Contractors?
Contractors.
About new constructions?
Constructions.
When do you buy and when do you let go?
Okay. Let's build this up.
Rentals.
Rentals. What do you know about rentals?
Numbers?
How do you screen tenants?
Geez. You want to know about rental?
When does the number make sense?
Okay, that's part of analyzing the deal. Okay. Fill it up.
Foreclosure and short sales.
Auctions, right? All right. Woo! All in 4 hours, right, guys? let me see something here. Sorry. Let me test out the monitor. Let me see how they do this. What's the keyboard? Sorry, we couldn't get here to test our equipment, but yeah. Okay, yeah, this is a little different. I was going to use my laptop, but they have like a little bit of different technology here for my laptop versus theirs setup. So. Give it a moment, come up. Yes, it's off. All right, so a little disclaimer, right? We have to give this disclaimer. I know we got specialists in the room, but most of this advice is kind of like coming from me, so my opinions, my experience. So it's just a little disclaimer. So your results may differ. So just a disclaimer like any other, sort of teaching. Okay, guys. So why real estate, right, guys? Who wants to make a lot of money? You got 1, 2. Guess who I talked to yesterday? If you guys saw my post. Huh?
You raised 2 hands.
Oh, yeah, 2 hands. Yeah. JB Bain. You guys know JB Bain? Who knows JB Bain?
Not personally.
Yeah, but who knows what he does? I think he's the richest guy in here, right? In Minnesota?
Yeah.
I don't know.
He's got a lot of other businesses that people don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, you guys wanna know how much he makes? Well, how much he has?
10 mil?
No, you wanna pause it? Pause your video for a second. Huh? Last year?
That's right.
You should be.
You guys do such a family?
Yeah, you should be as a family.
I don't know. This year.
So yeah, over 100 mil, right? I'm just saying over. So that's just so you guys know. So be around people. So real estate is the people. It's a people business, right? You need people to help you out. You need contractors. You need the agents. You need the loan guys. You need advice. You need people to help you find deals. I think I'm on too close. How about here? No? You guys hear any feedback?
Perfect. It's okay.
Yeah. It's the people. You have to make the connections. So, yeah, it is.
I think it's a speaker.
That's
Try to move away from the mic. Take the mic with you. Because the receiver's right there.
Oh, the speaker's right there, so those are just minimized comments.
We got that. It's on the ground, bro.
hello.
I think we can try.
start? Okay, so,
Oh, I got it. The volume control right.
oh, is it too loud?
Yeah, I got it.
You guys hear me?
Yeah.
Better? Okay, yeah. Okay, that's it. Thanks, Sue. So it's the people's, it's the people's industry. You need to connect with people to find your deals. You need to connect with, you need people to help you get your deals done, like an agent, a loan officer. So you gotta have some people skills in this, environment. So that's why you see me on social media all the time, hitting you guys up, right? Because I'm trying to feel out who's out there that knows people with deals. So when I send information out, great, you guys are liking it. So hopefully your friends will see, oh yeah, Chai does real estate. So you guys, that's the trick. You guys have to do that too. So people know that that's all you guys do is real estate, right? So if they know that the real estate's your thing and there's a deal, they can say, hey, Chai, there's a deal that I see. You may want it, you may not want it. So it's a people's industry, all right, guys? And I also think that this is like the best industry, right? So if you look at, people who invest in like we call it like investment vehicle, like stocks, bonds, you can save. All this stuff doesn't beat out real estate, right? Real estate gives you a yield, which is like cash flow, right? Gives you equity, so when property goes up, you get equity, you get, value out of that. You get that in stocks, right? But, all this other stuff, you don't get that benefit. You get the leverage. Everybody know what leverage is? No? Leverage is you take a loan, right? You take something to buy something more, right? It's a leverage. So let's say I take 100,000 that I can put down on a house, and I can leverage it to buy something that is 300,000, right? You can't do that with stocks. Well, you can. You can put like a margin account on, but you can't do that with other kind of stuff, right? Your bonds, you can't do that with cash, right? Cash you can't leverage. And it's a hard asset, right? Something that you can touch, right? And right now, this current market, everything, all the money is moving from stocks to something hard asset because it's increasing in value. So that's why you guys see prices so high. Right? Who's looking right now? That's it. Raise your hand higher. Let me see. Wow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Only 12 of you guys. Hey, you guys be constantly looking if you guys want to make money, because it takes a lot. It takes a lot. Right now, there's so many competitions out there. Yeah, you guys have to be looking. And then, tax advantages, right? Tax advantages, you write it off so you don't have to pay taxes, like Trump. So, why real estate? Who asked that earlier? Why invest, right? That's that kind of stuff. So, questions?
Can you give us an example of the tax advantages you're taking advantage of right now?
Cell phone bill. It's part of my business, right?
Yep.
I need it for my tenants to call me. What else? Yeah. I need fuel. What else?
Office space,
Yep. I think you guys know, office space.
electricity.
I can dedicate a part of my house as my office. And I can write out water bill, dedicate that, percentage of that like toward that room. Electricity, I bought an iPad. For business. Yeah. Yeah, I use it to search for houses. Right? What else? What else, guys? So, does that make sense to you guys with this graphic here? Yeah? Who,
Yes.
how many people are investors already? How many people own like 2 houses? Ah, cool. Hey, congrats guys. What was the percentage? It was like 80% of landlords. If you own 2 or more, you beat out like 80% of the landlords out there. So kudos to you guys that has 2 or more. Most landlords only have 1. So, dang. Yeah. So, kudos to you. You guys are already top 20%. All right. So this is the guy that changed my life. Who knows this guy? He changed a lot of people's lives. Yeah. What? Ruins people's lives. Yeah, now I'm constantly working. Is that what you're saying? Yeah. Now I'm like constantly hunting for money all the time. So you guys talk about like, why should I always talk about money? You know? It's because this guy. Bastard. But yeah, so, you know, I found out about this guy when, you know, I got laid off. It was raining. I was like cutting the grass, doing yard work, and I'm like, man, let me just listen to something. You know, I was really depressed. Put on headphones, listen to this guy. I think it was YouTube or something. I don't know how I got his audio. And he starts talking about cash flow. Right? Cash flow, like 4 ways to produce income. How do you produce your income? How do you make money, right? So, well, first thing you do is what? You get a W-2, right? You work for somebody, right? Which is the E stuff, right? All right, and then the S is down there is you're self-employed, right? You're like a doctor, you're a dentist, you know? You have your own business, like a restaurant and stuff like that. And that's how you make money, right? But what he was talking about is you need to be creating businesses and being an investor to be successful, right? Businesses like 500 employees or more, right? Or you become an investor like what we're doing, like what we're gonna learn today, okay? You wanna stay on that B and I side because the tax advantages are more toward your favor than, you know, the E and S. So, who's paying a lot of taxes? Who's filed taxes already? So, I'm still like, I haven't filed my 2021 yet. You know, I'm so far behind. Yeah, every year, I'm extending it. So, because there's so much to write off. I'm collecting. I mean, how much are you like writing off?
I think $23 in taxes.
I have not paid taxes.
I extended my taxes the last 4 years.
Yeah. See, he's like me. There's so much stuff to write off
Yeah.
that, you know, it's too late to mute already. You already got me. But I have not paid taxes for the past few years. That's just how powerful it is with real estate. So the tax advantage on your side. You guys want to pay taxes? Yeah, stay on that other side, right? But real estate investing will help you as far as you know, deduct your taxes. You know, make it smaller. So today we're just going to talk about buy and hold strategy. I know some of you guys asked about short-term rentals, and there's other stuff like flipping stuff. We'll get to that, right? We'll get to we'll touch on that just a little bit. But today we're just going to start. Today's just basic, right? So we need you guys to have some sort of foundation, and then you know maybe John we'll do another class down the road on flipping or short-term rentals or something like that. That we can focus on that. Where you guys? Oh. That's too far. I can't see that part anymore. So, how's that right here? You guys are so quiet.
It's too early.
Man, it's like 11. You guys party all night? Yeah. So we're talking about finding a deal. We're gonna get Linda and David to talk about that. I'm gonna analyze daily. That's gonna be me. and then managing a deal, which would be 2. So 2's already got like, man, 24? When did you get that high? How long did it take you to get that to that much?
5 years.
5 years, guys. 24 units in 5 years. You say units, or we say doors?
Units.
Yeah. How many properties total?
Combination, like worksheet properties.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's got what, duplexes?
Yeah, respectful taxes.
Yeah.
Single family. We got traded up. What do you got?
Yeah. So, dude, guys, 5 years. Holy cow. I mean, what is it? I started 2010.
I
And
started 16 when I met you. That's when I started.
wow.
When I
Yeah.
met you.
So we met during our first, which David, and we arranged. There was you guys. How many guys are in the Hmong real estate investors group? Okay, cool. Wow.
Now you guys seem to have joined in a little bit right now.
Oh, I see you, but how many of you guys are not in it? How about raise your hand if you're not in it? Okay, so in Facebook, just search for Hmong real estate investors, and there's a group in there that all of us in there. There's like almost 4,000 people of us in there. And we just talk about real estate, and we're all Hmong people. And if there's any negativity, I kick you guys out. We just talk about we want people to help each other, and that's all we do. I manage it. I created it. So any questions, just put it in there. I look at it every day, and any sort of questions, I'll answer it. And most of the time, other people answer it because that's how helpful the group is. All right. So yeah, so 5 years, guys. You guys can actually do this in 5 years to probably get up to his level. Let's see, how many do I have now? I got 5 Airbnbs. You guys know in Florida, right? So let me know if you guys need vacation right now over by Disney World, right? 5 Airbnbs. They're all like 5 and 6 bedrooms, right? And then I sold a few because of COVID because I needed the cash to survive. So right now I have 5 single families that I'm managing, and then I got an 8 unit in Milwaukee, and then last month we just went on a 400 unit deal, right? And then last week, is it this week or last week? I just funded for a 600 pad mobile home unit. So, and I started in 2010, and Doug asked me yesterday, he goes, how much are you worth? And I stumbled, and they're like, oh man, do I have to say it? But I have to say it because it's all this stuff is worth about $4 million at this point. Right? Started in 2010. So when I talk about this kind of stuff, and then when I talk about JB Vane, holy cow, guys! So I won't say it, man. I gotta make sure
I will erase it, don't worry.
You erase it? I did promise him I won't say it. So, yeah. So, you guys, your wealth. I mean, who wants to be a millionaire, right? This is all part of trying to, freedom. Being a millionaire is pretty much about getting freedom out there. So, yeah. So, we'll get my team up here to come and talk soon. Which is Linda, right? Linda is our money person right now, right? So who's got questions about money right now? I think we ask that. Anybody ask that? That should be like a biggest thing. It's like type of loans, right? Linda, you want to come up here? Let's give a hand for Linda. And ask questions, guys. Ask questions, because I'm not giving like bullet points and stuff like that. Ask questions, you're gonna be taking notes by yourself. So we're not giving, this is just straight up talking, we're just kind of winging it. It's probably easier, like, if you're up here. Yeah. If you need
Hi,
that.
everybody. Oh, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, as Chai said, my name is Linda. I've been in mortgage lending for 25 years. Kind of worked in all different capacities of mortgage lending. Spent a lot of my career in underwriting and risk management. So I, like Chai said, it's kind of an open forum if you guys want to ask questions, but I'll at least give you guys the basics of what you need when you need to get a mortgage. I'm sure many of you guys have gone through it already, but if you're first-time home buyers, right? So I know this is a real estate investing class, so you probably want to, know like, okay, well, how do I secure my first investment deal? And it's very easy. You can actually buy your first home owner occupied, and you can put as little as 3% down. So if you're tight on capital, you can put as little as 3% down. You really only have to stay in the property for 6 months, and you can rent that house out. You can actually get a lease for the home and generate income out of that house to offset the payment. And now you can move on and buy your second home. So, and normally originators, they're asking me, I always follow the 2-2-2 rule. So they want 2 years of residence history, 2 years of bank statement, 2 years of work history, 2 months of bank statements. And that's pretty much, and 2 months of bank statements. So pretty much follow the 2-2-2 rule, unless if you're self-employed, 2 years tax returns. So there's always, as Chai stated at the very beginning, it's always case by case. There's a lot of lenders right now that are coming out with special financing because of how the market is. I just learned about a cash offer program where lenders are actually qualifying you. You pay kind of a hefty fee, like 1.5% off the total loan amount, but they will actually cash offer the house for you. So you're still paying the mortgage, but they're giving a cash offer to the sellers to make your offer more appealing. So there's a lot of, in lending, there's 2 types of lenders. There's QM and non-QM.
Let's keep it simple.
Okay.
So, is this what we have? Yeah, so that's why I say Linda. She's got 25 years worth of knowledge, right? She's just spitting it out, right? And I know you guys are like, what the hell is she talking about? Right?
Yeah.
So, simple stuff, right? If I find something, David, can I find an investment property for 100,000?
Yes.
Yes. 3% of that is what? 3,000. You guys have $3,000?
Yes.
If you don't, you guys have a problem.
You might not want to be an investor just yet, and you don't have $3,000.
That's kind of like keep it basic, right?
Yeah.
You can find an investment for 100,000. Sure, it might look run down, whatever. Who cares, right? As long as the number makes sense, right? I mean, can we find an investment for 200,000, right? Right?
Say again?
Can we find an investment for 200,000? Yes, right?
Yeah.
What is that? 6,000? You guys have 6,000? Uh-oh, a little bit higher now, right? That kind of stuff, right? 3,000. Okay, so we'll go through the numbers later on how to analyze a deal. But just think, if I have 3,000, I can do this, and I'll show you how powerful it is later, right? So just that alone, 3%. I can buy $100,000 property for 3,000. Holy cow, right? All day long, right? And then there's all the factors into it which we won't get into, but that's pretty much what she's saying. Now she's saying that there's other ways you can do it also, right?
Yeah, there's several different lending options. If you guys don't, if you're self-employed and you don't really have income to show, there's programs called the bank statement program, where you just have to give us 24 months of your bank statements to show positive cash flow, and you can use income from that. So if you're self-employed and you write up all your expenses, and you don't really have income to show on your tax returns, because that's what underwriters use. If you're writing stuff off all the time and you're in a negative cash flow, net income, you're gonna have a lot of trouble finding a house.
Who's self-employed?
Okay, so a lot of people.
All right, so almost half. Congrats, I love you guys' business. Yeah. So that's why, so maybe we should stick to that, self-employed, and then just something people are starting out. Who's?
I have a question though. It only 3% if it's primary, but if you're an investor, it's 15%.
That's correct. So your down payments will vary depending on your occupancy. So if you're a primary home, you can go as low as 3% and you qualify for grants as a down payment. So if you get a second home, which requirements, they used to require that it was like at least 60 miles from your current home, but they've taken that away. It just needs to make sense. Okay, so we obviously can't buy a house in Minneapolis and buy one in St. Paul and be like, oh, this is my second home. Underwriting's gonna be like, okay, no, that doesn't make sense. But if you buy a house here and then you buy a house like in the lake somewhere, or like, you know, maybe an hour away, then that you can definitely.
Well, can you buy it for your kids and do a homestead?
You can, yes. There are different requirements for that. So like underwriting will use, but there's different income, and expenses that are taken into effect, you know, consideration, but you can. So if you, that's another way you could grow your real estate portfolio too, is leveraging your grown children.
So I have a question. So can you tell the bank that the first home you bought there's ghosts in it? So you need another home that's close to, you want to buy it in St. Paul too.
Yeah.
They want that, I don't know, right?
Well, okay, well, Linda always says,
But you can't live in it, you want that, man.
well, Linda always says 6 months, right?
Yeah.
6 months is not long, guys. 6 months gives you enough time to just rehab and make it look good. For the next, for you to say, hey, I don't want to live here no more. Don't say that, more down. It's gonna, you know, moment when we're like everywhere. Oh,
Yeah.
don't go rent there, more down.
Hey, you never taught me that, well,
Huh?
Brian taught me that.
Who?
Brian.
Brian.
If I wanted to buy another house, told, I'm gonna die.
But you
And
still,
then still wait at 3%.
yeah, that's Brian's strategy.
He taught me that.
I'm here telling you, of all the deals that have come across my desk, that's never been one.
Yeah, because you want to get renters there, right? Because it's only 6 months, guys. Just hold on to it for 6 months. Make it look good, you know? And then, oh, bank, so sorry. I found something else, which is going to be the secondary home, right?
Yep.
How long can you stay in the secondary home?
So secondary homes are much more flexible. They only require that you stay in the home for 10 days out of the year, and you can rent it out all the other times. So second homes, if you have a first home, you don't necessarily have to have a first home to buy a second home. Okay, but you know, you can buy a second home. Usually it's 10% down.
Scale that to their square home?
You can, yep, you definitely can. You can scale it to a third.
Yeah.
Can you repeat that?
Yeah, can you repeat that?
He said, can you scale it to a third and fourth home? So what I'm understanding is like, can you take your cash and privacy leverage it? You definitely can. So like one of the big things is like, if you're putting 10% down for your second home and you want to like say draw a line of credit, that's what I would do. Is I would always have a line of credit open, and so when you find that second property, you just draw from that line of credit, and then now you've got liquid assets all the time, right? So, so that's a way to do it too.
Linda, what's your strategy? I think you have an Airbnb, right?
I do have an Airbnb.
Yeah.
I've actually, so I've been in real estate ever since I was out of high school. So I've always owned properties and flipped them and rented them. And that's the strategy I use. I start with my primary occupancy and I build from there. Because the rule of thumb is that you can only have one primary residence, right? But it doesn't mean it has to be like consistent. You can jump one primary to the next. Okay, so you can build your real estate portfolio that way. If you don't want to, once you build enough cash flow, you can be like Ty and John, and you're just putting 20% down because you already have the cash flow coming in. Okay, so you only have to do that for a small amount of time before you can get to, really building your real estate portfolio and having that cash flow.
So Linda has a short-term rental. Oh, what lake was that?
It's up in Pequot Lakes.
Uh-huh.
By
So
Brainerd.
you guys want to go out and fish with any fishermen in here? Or just want to chill on a lake? It's a lakefront, right?
Yes, it's
It's a lakefront. And yeah, so that's her strategy. You have a primary, right?
I'm looking for a primary. I just
Okay.
went back to Minnesota. I
Okay.
was in Chicago for about 10 years, so
Okay.
I'm in the market like a lot of you guys, but
Yeah, so that's her strategy. Yeah, I mean, and you know, 10 days out of the year, you're going back there just to, just check on it. And that's pretty much.
yeah, pretty much. That's one of the reasons why I bought the Airbnb. I wanted a place for my family to hang out and, make memories. But I was like, okay, well, it'd be great if somebody else paid my mortgage, right? Well, I'm, the way the market's going right now, lakefront property with COVID, everybody wants to get away. great strategy not to have to, like, I'm not taking any of my own money to pay for my mortgage, but I get to enjoy, you know, all the things that come along with the property. And it's gonna grow in, you know, as you guys know, it's gonna grow in equity. So, it's just a great way to, like I said, use other people's money to pay for, you know, your expenses.
So she just listed it, when would you list it?
I listed it like maybe a month ago.
And it's like, you
I got like-
had so many like reservations already, right?
Yeah, I'm booked for the summer.
Yeah, that's how powerful Airbnb is. We're not gonna have time to touch Airbnb, but we'll talk about it, whoever has questions on it later. But, yeah, so we'll keep it simple. Find $100,000, we're just talking about numbers, right? It's a $100,000 house, 3%. You guys don't have $3,000, something wrong, right? You gotta check yourself.
Yes, and you guys, you know, for those of you who are new, like, you can always structure your deals so that the seller's paying for your closing costs, so you really are only coming to the table with your down payment. You know, there's creative ways to do it too, so, and I'd be happy to run any scenarios or, you know, answer any questions you guys have about, you know, real estate lending.
Okay, so when you guys wanna look for, start buying, right? What's the first thing you ask for?
So we pull credit, that's the most important thing. If you wanna find out whether you qualify, you gotta pull your credit. I hate those borrowers that come to me and be like, can you tell me what I qualify for, but don't pull my credit?
Yeah.
You can't really do that, okay, because like if you have an 800 FICO score, that's gonna change your lending opportunities as opposed to a 620 FICO score. Okay, so there you have a lot more options if you have an 800 FICO.
I have a question. Do you use FICO or Vantage?
I use FICO.
Okay.
Yep, most lenders are gonna use that middle FICO score. So whatever your three, you know, everybody has 3 credit scores. You're gonna use that middle one of the 3. So, and whoever has the lowest, if you've got co-borrowers on the loan, whoever has the lowest FICO of all 6 scores, that's the decisioning score that lenders will use. So if your spouse still have good credit, make sure they have good credit, okay? Because even if you have 800 and they only have 6, they're gonna take that 600. Any other questions?
Do you include, like, how many people are married, Hmong married, versus, versus nikah married? Does your state check here?
They don't necessarily check, but for you as the buyer, you put yourself at risk too, okay? So for example, if you're married, but you don't list that you're married, so you're gonna marry Mikaway now, okay? Not Hmongway, but Mikaway. And you don't put your spouse on that, or your mortgage, you don't have marital rights to that property, okay? So if that person takes title as a single man, it's gonna be very hard for you, if in the event anything happens, if you guys get a divorce or somebody passes away, God forbid, it's gonna be hard for you to go back and claim that property. So do it the right way. So if you're married the Hmong way, and you don't want to put the person in the mortgage, at least put them on the title. So you should take title as joint tenants so that if anything happens, they have access to the property. Like if you're alone, if something happens to you, the mortgage is separate from the title. Okay, the mortgage is just going to go back to the bank, but the title is the access, just like title to the car, right? So if you to go back to claim that, you have to be on title. So that's how you can work around that. And you can put anybody in title, your children, anyone.
So if you are title only and not on the mortgage and you don't get another loan, would they, they use that in terms of like, hey, you're on title for this house, are you paying for it?
That's a great question.
Okay.
Yeah, so most lenders always run all sorts of analysis behind the scenes. So most chances they're gonna find that property. Okay, so so if you're on title but not on mortgage, you're not necessarily responsible, but they will ask you for paperwork. Okay, so they're gonna say, okay, well, give me an explanation about this property here. You're listed on the title. So you can say, okay, well, I'm on title with my husband or my kid or whatever. And then they're gonna say, well, prove that you don't have any obligations, right? So, and sometimes what that's gonna require is that other person to show like 12 months of payments to show that they're making the payments. So it's case by case and it depends on the lender. Some lenders will just take it and they'll go with it, but if you've got a tough underwriter, they're gonna ask for documentation. So, and if you co-sign a house, I see this a lot because lenders will let you hold that liability and not use it against your parents if you can show 12 months payments coming out of your bank statement consecutively. And you can't have transfers going back and forth between your parents. Okay, so because that's fishy. So, but there is a way where people can co-sign for you, and then Hmong, as long as you can show 1 year that you made the payments, you could exclude that payment from the other person's liability.
What's the strategy around that, right? So instead of your parents, and you're paying it, you guys know the strategy behind that? So you just give them back the money. Does that make sense?
No, say that again.
So you're saying that it's their parents' house, right? Well, the parents wants to pay it, but you want to show that you're paying it, right?
Well, if you want, so like if you have 2 people on the loan, right, then a lot of people are trying to say, okay, well, you have to sign up. I can't go find a house. I can't go buy another house because I'm tied to that liability, right? That's a common problem. But how you get around that is just you as the person, whoever's paying for it, whoever is the person that really owns that house, and whoever wants to be free of that liability, do not have it come out of their checking account.
Okay.
Okay, have it come out of your only checking account, and if you can show 12 months consecutive payments coming from your bank account, the underwriting will exclude that payment from your parents, from their debt to income ratio. So when they go buy a house, they'll be free of it. They still have to count the mortgage, but they will offset it and take it off. We have to show 12 consecutive months, that's the key.
Can you do that with your kids too, if they're over 18?
You can do that, actually you can do that with any liability. So if you have a car that you co-sign for a child, anything other than credit cards, or any student loans, anything like that, any debt that you have that somebody else pays, you can show that they make the payments for 12 months consecutively out of their own checking, no fishy like back and forth transfers between you and that person, and you can exclude that from your debt to income ratio.
Wow. Now make sure that door is, what if you want to show extra income coming in, right? I don't know, this might be like, so, and you have your parents, because your parents stay with you, right? So your parents give you money as far as your rent, so that shows you having a second stream of income from your parents. That's because they're renting or they're staying at the house. But at the end of the year, it's your parents, you just give that money back to them.
You could do that. The only caveat to that is that you have to claim that income on your taxes.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's non-taxable, it's not claimable income. So, but yes, you can just kind of work on it to help offset and then give it back to them later. But remember, you have to pay taxes. You have to claim the taxes on your Schedule C.
And you gotta write it off. Okay, guys?
Yes. Lots of strategies around it.
All right, questions?
I've got a question, so for folks who are self-employed, who tends to write a lot of their expenses off, they tend to have a low net income. What are some strategies for them to have positive income so they can qualify for mortgage?
Oh, you have to report your income, right? So if you know you're gonna be buying your house, maybe not, you have to show a positive cash flow, right? Because they average that income over 2 years. So, there's really no other way around it other than you gotta show positive income. So, I don't know, try to do any strategies around that, but if you have multiple real estate properties, you can do a lot of different things to offset it. So like, I'm sure John has you can utilize the rent coming in, right, as income to offset your payments. But if you're strictly self-employed and you're not in the real estate industry, you're doing something else, you have to show positive cash flow in order to qualify.
You want to show it.
We do.
Why won't you want to show it?
Pay taxes.
Well, if you do it right, your expenses should write it off, right? So maybe talk to your CPA and say, hey, what can you do to maximize my deductions out of it, right? Because with the business, I don't know down the road, I don't know how much you want to expand, right? Because they want to see that you're expanding, right? They want to see you having income. So if you're paying zero taxes, and every year it's going to look like, all right, he's losing all the time. What's going on, right? So you got to show some sort of positive. If you want to expand, right? If you just wanna keep it small, then yeah, you know, figure out ways to do deductions.
Hey, Chai,
Yeah.
let me, let me help address that for that brother right there. So if you're self-employed, right, you have to think outside the box of a normal investor, like a first-time home buyer where they have a W-2 job. Okay, so if you're self-employed, you make your income by your own work, and you have to write off as much of your expenses as possible, or you're gonna get taxed the crap out of, right? So on paper, you're poor, okay?
Yep.
When you go to the bank, the bank's gonna say you're poor because on paper you're poor, but you're actually making a lot of money from your business, okay? So the question now is, how do you go and you get a loan when your brother who works at regular W-2 jobs makes $50,000 a year, he can qualify for, you know, $200,000-300,000, and you make, let's say, $400,000 a year, but you can't qualify for a loan. Doesn't make sense, right? So it doesn't mean that you're out of the game. It just means that you have to think outside of the box of normal finance, okay? So Linda said it earlier, you might want to start to consider other options such as non-qualified mortgages or bank statement loans, okay? So you as an investor, don't let that stop you, okay? Don't let, when you go to the bank and you say, hey, I want to get a regular conventional mortgage or FHA mortgage, and they say no, don't let that no stop you, okay? Do more research. Do more research about different financing options, because you make money, so there's a way to do it, okay?
Yeah, talk to the bank. The bank should lay out the requirements, and it's very simple. Just say, hey, what are my requirements? What requirements are you guys looking for? And they should just, they have the pamphlet, they just give it to you. They say, this is what we're looking for. So, and there's tons of different types, like what David said, there's tons of different types of loans out there that can help you too. So, hope that answers your question.
Yeah. Linda, you said you have to show positive income, meaning what? Like, for example, if I want to buy a $250,000 home, and showing positive income means how much positive income?
Well, that's, I mean, there's a lot of things that are factored into that, right? So depending on what your debt is, you know, if you have a co-borrower that is gonna contribute income, so a lot of different scenarios. I don't know that I could directly answer that question without, like, you know, having a case by case. But, you know, you have to.
For example, obviously you're gonna consider all my expenses, right? Personal expenses as well as the expense of that house. So positive income means after all of those expenses minus, I still have to show like at least enough income to cover that house. Is that how you guys determine it?
No, so the way that underwriting looks at it is, they have what's called a debt to income ratio, requirement. So that's just like what your total debt is divided by, or your total debt divided by your total gross income. That's how you determine your debt to income ratio. Okay, so if you had let's just keep it simple. Okay, so if you've got $2,000 worth of debt and you bring home $4,000 gross, you're at a 50% debt to income ratio. Every lender they set their maxes on their debt to income ratio. So that's why I said it's hard to answer that question without doing an analysis, because, you know, if you go to a bank statement program, they might allow you to do 50% debt to income ratio. Conventional loans, you know, typically only let you go to 43%.
Now, when we do the analysis, you're gonna see that you're gonna wanna be positive. So I'll show, when we do the analysis, you're gonna say, okay, all right, is this deal a good deal or bad deal, right? Because, and you always wanna be on that positive side. So hopefully when we do the deal analysis, you should be able to, okay, it's always gonna be producing me income, which is always gonna help your debt ratio. So just wait for that and we'll come back, revisit it too, if you need to. Questions? Guys, she's the most important one out of this whole thing, so make sure you ask, because it's all about money, right? You can't buy something, I mean, unless you guys have like $100,000 to buy, you know, cash house. She's the most important one out of this whole thing, so ask your questions.
They mentioned earlier, there's some investors that has over 15, 20, 30 doors. I would have to say that they leverage all of that on a loan. How many loans can one person actually hold? Or how do they play out where they're actually able to leverage all that into a loan by themselves?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you want to answer that since you have, you know, direct experience. I mean, I can give it to you from a lending perspective, but.
Say it louder, I
And
can't.
you can only do like 10 loans, right?
Well, so Fannie and Freddie
Yeah, I'll talk after that.
yeah, Fannie and Freddie, they typically, you fall into different categories when you have more than four mortgages. Okay, so after that, you're flagged, right? So, you're technically considered an investor after that point. So you really can only hold the 4 mortgages.
What was, you're kind of far, I couldn't hear you this part. What was, you talking about more than 4?
Yeah, well, more than one, because debt to income ratio is gonna affect how much a loan person can hold. How many loans can an actual person hold? I mean, I would
Yeah.
say it's based on debt.
I'll tell you what, so I was holding 10 single properties at one point.
10, you
Yeah.
said? Really?
I did hit that limit,
Yeah.
which is what you're talking about 4,
Yeah.
right? But that's just a government limit, right? So then I had to go find a different type of broker that was able to do 4 or more, well not 5 or more, right?
So you're
like,
saying just keep different lenders?
just keep finding lenders, right? Yeah, that does different programs.
Okay.
The interest rate would be higher,
Right.
but
And you might have to put more money down, because usually
Yeah.
those lenders become non-qualified
Yeah.
mortgages. So when he talks about government, so there's 3 main people that hold mortgages. That's HUD, Fannie and Freddie. There are, I'm sure you guys hear about them all the time. Almost all mortgages are created and then sold to them at some capacity. Anything outside of that goes to different separate investors. And then but Fannie and Freddie hold a bulk of the mortgages and they sell it on the market, but they're the ones that have like the regular guidelines. But there's many other lenders out there that have guidelines outside of those. So just do your homework, and I'd be happy to refer you guys if you guys are looking for special financing or anything. But, yeah,
Yeah, so, like she said, there's these government agencies that purchases the loan. So when they give you loans, they actually don't keep it. They sell it at the secondary market. So like stock market, bonds, or other location, right? So because the agency, those government agency holds the loans, they have very strict guidelines because they want the loans to be like as secure as possible, right? Or as safe as possible. So that's why they restrict you to 4 or 10. They restrict it to a certain amount of numbers. Now after that, then you have to do what we call non-qualified loans, or another category of loans that are more commercial. It's just another term that means non-agency loans. That's all. It's just a term that
It's not-
agencies are not
yeah.
backing the money.
it's not hard.
Yeah.
It's not hard.
So
I-
once
I-
you go that route, then the interest rate is a little bit higher, 1 to 2 points higher. But if your numbers work, then it's fine.
Yeah. They
And
don't-
the way I do it.
Yeah, I mean, we'll move on, but that's real easy, don't worry about
So
it.
you could get the loan.
Yeah, don't even worry about it, keep
Don't
buying.
worry. Don't worry
Keep
about it.
buying.
She said you can't
Yeah.
qualify.
your credit score is the most important thing,
Yeah.
but one thing I wanted to add is that, when you have real estate property, you generate income, right? So you're not necessarily utilizing, if you do it, if you're smart, and we'll go through the deal analysis with you guys, but if you understand how to price your property, you will offset your payment. So you're technically at net zero all the time, so even though you own, even if you have $400,000 of debt, if you're pricing your property correctly, and you have positive cash flow, you're gonna be fine. You actually can contribute additional money to your bottom line and your application. And I know that's how these guys do it. They are, not only are they leveraging what they have, but they know how to offset their payments so that their debt to income ratio will always work. And so there's definitely a science to it.
Alright, next question.
So you're talking about 4 or more, mortgages here. So if you're married, does that bring it up to 8, or is it still 4?
No, nope, it's just whatever pulls up on your credit report. So, whatever you're claiming as your property, it doesn't double if you're married or not. The thing about the agencies, like the Fannie, the Freddies, and the HUDs of the world, they're made for residential purchases, right? So when you think about that, like, if you become an investor, they don't want that, because then now they're not, their primary job is to get people into homes. And they do promote the investor part too, but not as much as some of the other lenders that really focus on that type of financing.
I hope a lot of the investors with this question because they get it a lot. If you're like what we were saying earlier, if you're married the Hmong way only, then you could technically get 4 loans, right? Or you double up, or 8, or you double up. But that's up to you how much you guys trust each other, right? So if you guys haven't done it very soon, do the best. I mean, this paper, like.
You're encouraging people to get divorced. He said it, I'm not gonna say anything, but.
So as investors, you think outside the box, and if both of you guys agree, and then you, yeah, my wife and I almost got divorced. So you guys can do that too. I help other investors, help them plan their strategy, and so that gives them a lot more options.
Linda, can you tell us, is it different if you have a partnership LLC? Is the financing different when you have that versus like an individual? Say you have a partnership LLC, can one person do 4 residential loans? Or now if you're a partnership, you can't do that and you're considered commercial.
So are you, I just want to make sure I understand the question. So are you applying as an LLC or are you saying you have an LLC?
Let's say you are, I guess, both is the question is, can you do it can you apply it as an LLC or can you apply it as an individual even if you have an LLC and put it under the LLC?
You cannot, no, you can't take a loan under an LLC, at least not residential mortgages, you can't. It has to be tied to a social security number. But if you have an LLC, it can open up a can of worms. So if you don't make money, then it's gonna hurt you. But if you do make money, then it's gonna help you. So, but underwriters do their due diligence in the back, and they will be able to pull some of this information. So, if you don't, the rule of thumb with businesses is that if you don't want to use the income as part of your application, then it's fine. But if you have to bring your tax returns in for whatever reason, and they see a major loss in your on any sort of LLC or partnership, they're gonna count that against you. So they're gonna take that income away from you. Okay, so whatever, if you have an LLC and you know you're reporting losses and but you don't wanna use it as income, whatever you do, try to avoid having to submit your tax returns. Because underwriters are obligated to take everything into account when it comes to risk. And so if they see you're taking a major loss. They don't shoot it here. Any other questions?
Yeah, bouncing back to different ways of getting loans. I can't speak for everybody, but from my own experience here, I think if we are being honest with ourselves, in Hmong we do a lot of cutting corners as far as getting loans. Yeah. So I guess what I'm trying to ask is, as an investor, how much corner can you cut?
Yeah, what corners are you looking at?
Property or
No, ways to get your loans.
Oh, before the crash, I would say it was a lot easier, but after the crash, there's a lot of quality control.
Because the reason I ask that is because if I go to a regular mechanic, well, they're just doing their job, there's no way I'll qualify, but I just move like to home now. They'll find lots of corners to cut in and I'll be qualified.
Yeah, I mean, as long as it's not against the law, you can be creative in how you structure your deals. I think, is that what you're asking?
Pretty much.
Yes, you can be creative in how you structure your deals, how you get money. There's all sorts of gifts that you can leverage. Income is a little bit trickier because you can't just, create it out of thin air, right? You have to show history of it. But there are, occupancy is another one, right? So for those of you who want to buy primary, secondary, rentals, there are creative ways that you can do it so that, you don't have to put the 20% down all the time. But you have to be willing to be flexible, right? So your occupancy, you have to live there for at least 6 months. So you can only have one primary. So you can technically live in that for 6 months, buy your next property, claim it as a primary, and do it again, right? And so you can always be buying a primary and then having the one that you just bought as your primary become an investment. But I will tell you, lenders look at that pattern. So as underwriters, we can pull title work, we can pull all sorts of stuff behind the scenes. We know when you bought that property, when it was transferred. So you just want to be careful about how you're doing because then you'll get flagged. And then, then it's going to be an issue, unless you go to non-QM. Non-QM doesn't care. Okay, so those are lenders that are like non-Fannie and Freddie.
Can I bounce back on this question or its response? So I used to originally be in tax, but if got your China, there's things that you can count off. So you have zero income, but it can be added back to your total income, whichever. So tax, insurance, depreciation, are those the items. So if you claim, so let's say you get $10,000 rental income, but depreciation is 5,000, property tax 3,000, insurance 2,000, it zeroes out, so you have zero income. But your underwriter can add those back to show as positive income. So a lot of times you can pay right off like supplies, advertisement, cleaning, those will get added back, so that's gonna hurt your bottom line in your check out.
So where do we find these lenders?
Well, you can definitely reach out to me. I think David's a good resource as well. You know, if you search up non-QM lenders, you'll be able to find them as well.
Guys, hit the group, right?
Yeah.
This is, we all do the same stuff. The Hmong Real Estate Investors Group. I mean, we're all investors in there. We'll tell you which one that we use. Who's in there? We'll tell you which one he uses. That works, that's easy, right? I know you have like certain ones like you use. Yeah. So you have that resource in that group that they're already investing, they're already using, you know. Or hit up the agent.
Trust me, my lender wants to work with you guys. I'm going further. It's good business for them.
That's right.
It might be for.
Do we have to notify like once like for our primary resident and like the business restaurant, do we have to notify the homes or how do we get a second?
Not necessarily, no, you don't have to notify your current lender, you just have to, every county that you live in, you have to register your homestead, status, so you can only just have the one homestead at a time. So that gets reported back to the IRS.
We have to register?
Yes, so after you close the home, you have to go register your homestead status, right? So either you're homesteading it or not homesteading it, right? And so that's how they know how to, because what you're not homesteading, your taxes are gonna be higher than a homestead property. So, and you can technically only homestead the one and your second one. So, but you don't have to notify your lender. Just when you go apply for the loan, you have to make sure you let them know that you have another property and then this one will be your primary.
Alright, so let's recap. What's the first thing you asked for?
I asked for, I take an application, so,
Okay.
you know, like I said, the 2-year rule.
2 years? 2
2
years?
years work history, 2 years residence, 2 years, 2 months bank statements, and your social security number.
Okay. And what do you look for credit score?
So if you're in the 720s or above, you're in much better chances, getting a better rate, you know, getting all access to all products. But people are lending as low as 580. So it doesn't knock you out just because your score's not at 720.
Alright. Right, yeah, she's the most important one here.
So what's the max that a person could, make before, they require like a 5% down, there's like a threshold?
So if you go first-time homebuyer programs, there is a median income requirement. I think in the state of Minnesota, it's like 68,000 or something. But that's only if you want to utilize the first-time homebuyer program. But Freddie Mac has a first-time homebuyer that is also there is no income limit. So yeah, just know your options. There's plenty of different ways. But you can also go FHA. So if your credit score is a little bit lower and you just want to get into the real estate market, FHA is a great option. They've become essentially our subprime lender because they go down to as low as like 580. And I've seen several people with collection accounts and whatnot that still are eligible. So, and obviously everything's case by case, but FHA does not have an income limit.
I know people have,
So the to go up to 2 years of work experience, like is it just a guideline or you should have 2 years of work experience?
So it's going to be really hard for us to establish like consistent work history if you don't have 2 years. Now you could have been a student prior to that, and that would be fine. But if you have a lot of gaps in your employment, it doesn't necessarily knock you out, but they might have to take the lower risk. So like if they average your income over 2 years, like maybe right now you're making 40 grand, job has been so inconsistent, and so to take the lower risk, they're not gonna take the 40 grand, they're gonna average it over 2 years and say, you know, what did you make over the last 2 years, and divide that by 24. You know, you might have to use $2,000 worth of income as opposed to the 3,300 that you were able to use. So it is much better if you have the 2 solid years. If you want your application to go right in, like you take that app and you go right in, you have a clean app. Like 2 years of not a lot of jumping around back and forth, because that's what causes a lot of questions.
Do bonuses and commissions count towards your income?
Does what?
Does bonuses and commissions?
They do.
Okay.
Yes, bonus and commission, they do. They're, typically, they require that you have it for at least 2 years, and you receive it for 2 years. But even if you haven't, you know, they can, if you've only been getting it for a year, they will average it over 2 years. So, does that make sense? So like if you've only been getting it for 1 year, but you can still count it as income, the lender will just average it over 24 months. You may, you're gonna get less. But if you have 2 years of receipt, of history of it, that's gonna be better. Okay, so but commission is a little bit different. If you are more than 25% commission on, at your current position, then they're gonna require tax returns in case you write anything off. So if you're under 25%, then it's fine. Then you won't have to show tax returns, and your commission, same thing. You have to have received it for 2 years. Was there another question?
Yeah, I had a question. Because during the shutdown, like many people were furloughed, does that affect that whole 2-year rule?
Say that again?
Like during the shutdown, we were, like many of us were furloughed. Did that affect that 2-year rule or?
Not necessarily, not if you can show that if it was due to COVID. But you don't want a large employment gap either. So it doesn't look good if you've got anything greater than 6 months, it requires an explanation. So depending on, if you don't have a good loan officer that can help you structure your deal, you could open up a different can of worms and make it really hard for you to get approved. But it doesn't necessarily knock you out.
What's the current interest rate and what's the projection for that?
Yeah, rates I think closed at 4.5, 4 3/4 this past week, and I think they're gonna probably slowly creep up with inflation. So they've been low for a really long time. Yeah.
I remember brother over here was talking about cutting corners, and you mentioned about us getting flagged. Is there a way to determine when you get flagged and how to unflag it? And let's say, you know, if you get flagged with one lender, if you jump to another lender, is that flag still stays on there?
You know, there's only certain things that lenders check for, and these are only qualified for QM mortgages, right? So the non-QM, it's kind of like, you know, it's outside of the box, so nobody's gonna check. But appraisers, loan officers, you know, and anybody that's part of that loan, listing agents, selling agents, depending on the type of the loan that you have, especially FHA, they do run what's called LDPGSA, and if your name makes it on there, then it does get flagged. But it takes a lot. It takes a lot for borrowers to get on there. Most of it is anything that's fraud related. So if you're in a transaction, if you've gotten convicted of anything, or a lender knows that you've had strings of fraudulent loans that have come through and they've reported you, sometimes your name won't make it on there. And it's really up to the lender. You can advocate for yourself, but it's going to be hard for me to advocate. So just don't do any fraud, and you'll be good. Don't commit fraud. That is my one thing. Like, cut corners, but do not commit fraud, because lending is, you know, they've made it. They have a lot of checks and balances on the back end that borrowers are not aware of. So I highly advise against it.
Can I ask you, can you just further explain like what goes under the fraud? You know, like I want to make sure that I do things correctly. I'm really scared of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But
basically, like anything that is not true, right? So like, don't fabricate taxes, don't fabricate pay stubs or bank statements.
Okay.
Don't fabricate like, like a company, don't have, there's a lot of guidelines right now around property, so you can't have, because you remember it before the crash, appraisers were appraising homes a lot more for what they were worth, and then people were taking the money and running. They put a lot of controls around that now, so you can't do that, but lenders are still seeing a lot of fabricated documents that are coming through, especially during COVID, because people W-2 went from like 15,000 to like 70. So, great questions, you guys. Anything else?
So who's got a primary home right now? And who wants to invest with pulling equity out? He's pretty good at that. How do you do that?
So, one, there are several ways to do it, but if you have a current primary residence, all you need is a lease and the first month's deposit into your account. And then all of a sudden your lease goes, your payment is offsetted. Okay, so if you've got a house right now that you wanna rent out and, collect payments on there, you just get the renter in there and we only need to see that the first payment was deposited, and, we close on that deal. So this is probably what he means by cutting corners. So this is probably something that I know a lot of my lenders do, right? So sometimes they may or may not have a renter lined up, but they know that they're going to rent that home out, but they need it to qualify. So they'll have somebody come in, and put the deposit down and get the lease in until they figure everything out. So that is a corner, you gotta cut that out of the video. But that is
He said he'll audit it.
which is 1,000, rented for 1,700, and now all of a sudden you have positive cash flow out of the
And you still live there?
You cannot live there, no. And you have to. So, I will tell you another trick, okay? If you are going to live there, then you need to at least change your address and forward it to that for 6 months. Because we'll check UPS, United States Postal, we'll check your homestead status afterwards. So as long as you move your address over there, you're fine. But you did not hear from me.
I thought that you have to have your rental there for at least 2 years to consider that as income though.
Technically, no, well, this is if you have a current primary that's not rented.
Oh, okay, so it's
Yes.
only, okay.
And you technically can still use investments, they just use the 2-year rule. So
Oh, okay.
if you rented it for just 1 year, they will average whatever income you made for loss over 24 months.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yep, yep, yep.
So Linda, what you're saying is, even though right now I have a house that has $200,000 equity in there, I still cannot get a loan, if I'm not renting it out. Is that what you're saying?
Well, you can if you qualify. If you qualify for both mortgages.
I mean, I wanted to buy another house for investment. So technically, I would not be taken into consideration even if I have that much money in there.
The equity does not help. No.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it shows, but
It
it's.
has to be rented out, meaning that the second house that I'm gonna buy I have to basically say that that's gonna be my primary house, and then the other one over here is gonna be a rental. Is that what you're saying?
You don't have to do it that way either. You can buy an investment property. So like for those of you who have a primary and say you have equity and you have more room in your debt to income ratio and you just wanna go ahead and buy an investment property, you can do that. And you can already use the projected rents in that property to, as income, to offset the payment already. So it's part of the application. So like, for example, I'm in the market for a 4-unit right now. I've been looking for over a year, right? 4 units are running in Minneapolis for $600,000, $800,000. But I don't have to qualify for the 700,000. I mean, I do. But if that's my primary, I live in one of those units, I can consider that a primary, so I only have to put 5% down. But the 3 other remaining units are open, and I can already count those leases as income. So it's already offsetting my payment. Does that make sense? So, but you can buy it as an investment.
Yeah.
It's just for those, that example that I gave is just for people who are like starting off, and you're like, how do I even start to become an investor or like a landlord? You can definitely, so that's what I was expanding on. But you can buy your property any way you want. You can go into the bank and say, hey, I wanna invest in all. You're just subject to certain requirements if you're going in with an investment loan.
To piggyback off your statement, you just mentioned about the 5% down on a 4-unit. I've been looking at loans and it's just 50% down, or is it just a different program that I need to look into?
No, you're right, yeah, 4 units do require more down payments, yeah. So, because they're a little riskier, so,
Is there a way to get around that? Because most banks are looking at, 2 doors or more, it goes up, right? So is there a way around that?
I think you can go to a non-QM borrower, or lender, and they might be able to offer you solutions, but I don't think I have anyone that is less than 10%, unless you know anybody on a 4 unit.
I work differently, so. Alright, so, see what she's talking about, what she's talking about is for you guys to start out, right? So 1 to 4 units are all residential, they're all considered residential. It's actually easier to qualify for a 4 unit if you're first buying your property than it is to qualify for a single family house. Because like she said, you can take the other 3 units and add that to your income already. So if you guys don't have a property right now, I would suggest at least buying a 2 to 4 unit. That's probably easier for you guys to qualify for the property. And so then you could use like an FHA loan. That's what I did for my first 4-plex. That's how I started. So that's 3.5% down, right? So
Well, that's the question, though, is how do you get around that? Because that's my thing that's holding me back, is that I'm gonna put down, let's say I'm gonna put down 100K, as down, right?
Yeah.
You know how long does that take me to make that back?
Alright.
So that's the thing that I'm trying to get over.
yeah, I could help you there.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's your, you want to take an actual case?
We can talk about it later.
Yeah.
Yeah, because now we're kind of sitting down.
Yeah, I can give you scenarios for your specific case.
It's just another 5%, 20%. Put that down. But you're saying you just can't afford that much more, right?
No, I can't, I don't want to. You know, because my question is, and I didn't interrupt it, because it wasn't really a question, it's more like, what would you suggest to somebody that has in liquid 100 up to 400, you know, to invest in? Because
How many, do you have any properties right now?
I do commercial.
So let me stop there. So, David,
Yeah.
if he was to come say, I want to put in 15% down, and somebody comes in at 20% down, does that help you? Does that win contracts?
On the
Is it a strong offer?
It's a strong offer, yeah. So if you're gonna put in a higher down payment, that potentially makes your offer stronger.
Right.
Yeah, but what I'm trying to say, I'm trying to avoid that high down.
Yeah, so let me answer his question directly. What you're saying is you have money, but you don't want to use it.
Yeah.
That's what he's saying.
Don't
Okay?
do that.
So technically, you could do that. Okay, technically you could do that, but you, again, I don't want to take a long answer. The main thing is you have to change your mindset, okay? Because that money that you're taking, so you're thinking about it like, say, example, if you're buying a car, right? You take some money, you go buy a car. What happens to that money? It's gone. You never get that money back, right? Because cars depreciate and all that stuff. Okay, so as an investor, you got to think that money that you're spending on your house, that's actually going in. Think about it. Take it like $100,000 out of your checking account, and think of that property as another checking account. So just think of it as you're moving to that checking account. So you think about it like that. That $100,000 is not just going down the drain. It's gone. You're never going to see it again. Okay, because that's what you're thinking about. You're like, if I spend $100,000, it's gone. I'm never going to touch it again. Okay. But if you think about it as moving from a checking account to another checking account, it's going to be there. And how you can do it, and people are like, I don't want to spend $100,000 as a down payment. Well, if you have that much money, I'm assuming your finances are very good. Okay. So what you could do, a strategy, really quick strategy, is you could take that $100,000. Okay, maybe it's 25% or whatever. You could get a conventional loan for 25% down. Okay. And then you can automatically put a home equity line of credit on that, so you still have access to that $100,000 that you just put in, okay? And some lenders will even allow you to take out to 100% loan to value on that home equity line of credit. So again, you move it from one checking account to another checking account, and you still have access to your $100,000, okay?
So this is great, all advanced strategies, but it won't work if you don't have a deal.
Exactly.
Right? Your offer is not strong enough with somebody who has 20% down. So you might not even get the property. So make that strong offer, then you can do all the advanced strategy afterwards. Right? Because you're not going to make money without property. So keep that in mind, because right now, I mean, I want to bring David up. David's probably next, but I think you have to go, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll probably bring 2 of that up. But right now, it's about winning that deal, because there's no inventory out here. So if you're gonna say, hey, I want to put 3% or 15%, you're not gonna win that deal with somebody who comes with cash for something else. So win that deal, do the advanced strategies afterwards, okay? All
I
right.
just wanted to echo what David said, you know, like, when you invest into real estate, your money never really goes, like, it's truly an investment, right? So there's several ways that you can leverage that money, but I am a proponent of making, like, putting money down too, because it does, it gives you the better rate, you don't have to pay PMI, you know, like, it just sets you up better financially, and there's ways that you can take that money out, so, and it doesn't go anywhere, unless the market crashes.
So we're gonna pass it to David, but before we pass it, David, what do you want out of somebody? Like pre-approval, maybe, right?
Yeah, so pretty much if you're looking to work with a real estate agent, you know, especially if you're trying to purchase residential properties, like what you said, 4 units and down, they're gonna wanna see that you're pre-approved. So, you know, they wanna see a letter from Linda saying that you're qualified to purchase the property. That way, they're not really wasting their time because, you know, their time is valuable and your time is valuable too. So you don't wanna be running around looking at all these properties, come find out that you don't even qualify for it.
David would probably won't even wanna look at you if you don't have one, right?
Well, I mean, for me, I don't really do too much sales anymore, but my sales agent.
But your sales agent,
yeah.
they probably won't, if you don't have a pre-approval, they'll probably be like, it's probably a waste of time.
Well, like I said, it's not even just our time as the
Yeah.
agent's time. We're wasting your time as the person.
Yeah.
Because if you can't even buy it, what's
Right,
the
you
use?
get your money right
You know?
first. Because if you get your money right, she's able to tell you how much you can afford, right? So if she can tell you how much you can afford, then you can know how to search.
And there's different ways to structure your deals. So when you're working with your agent, if you know that you don't want to leverage all your cash, you want to roll those closing costs in, there's different ways, you know, you can run different scenarios. And then you want to make sure that your agent is informed too, so that when they do write up the deal, they know what your financial situation is too.
Yes, hey, Linda, come back up here.
What?
She wants to know your contact, sorry about that, yeah, how do people get a hold of you? Come back up here.
Do you have a business card? You know, I'll give you guys my cell phone number. If you guys want to just get a hold of me, I didn't bring business cards, but my cell is 612-327-7224.
You said you're in here, right?
I'm here in Minnesota.
Yeah. So we come and do a loan here.
Yep.
And then the loan that we do there, we can buy property outside of the store.
No, loans are state by state. So, yeah, they're state specific. There's different requirements in different states. So if you're looking at a different state, you want to partner up with somebody in that state. Sure. One more time, my cell, 612-327-7224.
Are you connected with like people in Oklahoma or something like that?
You know, I'm not, but Chai is.
Hey, what company do you work for?
So I do at CFG Financial, but I do mortgage consulting with Gold Mortgage too.
Okay, all right.
Linda, are you in the investment group?
I am. Yeah.
And we'll follow up with the email to
Yeah,
send all
yeah,
the contact information.
All right.
Thanks, everybody.
All right.